If you're still trying to figure out which streaming camera is actually worth your money, whether you're going live on Twitch, building a YouTube channel, running client calls, or just trying to stop looking like you're broadcasting from a potato, this is the video that ends the search. 5 cameras, 5 very different profiles. Let's get into it. The first one is the YOLOLIV YoloCam S7, and it is not a typical webcam. This is a micro four thirds streaming camera, meaning it takes interchangeable lenses, the same mount standard used by Panasonic, Olympus, and a handful of other serious imaging brands. At the heart of it is a 4/3-inch Sony IMX sensor with 10.71 megapixels and 2.9 micron quad pixel technology. That sensor is meaningfully larger than what you'll find in any webcam on this list, which directly translates to better light collection, more natural depth of field, and cleaner footage in challenging conditions. Per the official specs, it streams at 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, and it does that continuously. The aluminum alloy housing functions as a passive thermal management system, so overheating and unexpected shutdowns are engineered out of the picture. Autofocus is handled by both TOF, time of flight, and phase detection, which are 2 different distance sensing methods working together to keep your subject locked without any hunting or drift. It outputs simultaneously over HDMI and USB-C, so you can run it into a capture card and a computer at the same time. The camera is designed with vertical streaming built in as a first-class use case, not an afterthought. It pairs natively with the YoloLiv ecosystem, including YoloBox hardware and the in-stream encoder for TikTok and Shorts. The companion software, YoloLiv Compose, gives you real-time color correction and full manual camera control without touching a third-party app. This camera is for the creator who has outgrown webcam quality and wants cinematic image control without building a full mirrorless rig. If you're running a production setup, multicam streaming, a live selling channel, a studio environment where you're swapping between a wide lens for full-body shots and a 25mm for tight talking head coverage, the S7 is built for exactly that. The interchangeable lens system is what no other streaming camera in this price range offers, and if you're going to use that capability, this is your camera. If you don't need lenses, keep watching. At $799, it's the premium option on this list. The product is body only. Lenses are separate. Links are in the description if you want to check current availability and bundle options. Now, if you want serious tracking without building a full production setup, the OBSBOT Tiny 3 is a different kind of answer. This is a PTZ webcam, pan, tilt, zoom, meaning it physically moves to follow you rather than relying on software cropping. The gimbal inside actually rotates the camera on its axis to keep you framed, which is a fundamentally different approach from anything else in this list. The sensor is a 1/1.28-inch CMOS with ISO up to 12,800 and dual all-pixel PDAF autofocus. Based on the manufacturer's specs, it outputs at 4K at 30 frames per second or 1080p at 120 frames per second. So if you need ultra-smooth slow-motion motion capture at full HD, there's a mode for that. The AI tracking system has been updated to what OBSBOT calls Tracking 2.0, which includes a voice locator feature. The gimbal detects who's speaking and physically pans to follow them, which makes it genuinely useful in multi-person environments where the primary presenter changes. You can also control the whole thing with hand gestures or voice commands. No app required, no keyboard shortcut, just raise your hand or say the command. The built-in triple mic MEMS array supports 5 distinct audio modes, and it works as a standalone audio input without needing a separate interface. It connects directly to any computer, Nintendo Switch 2, or compatible device via USB, and the OBSBOT Center software unlocks additional features, including background replacement, beauty mode, a teleprompter overlay, and NVIDIA Maxine eye contact correction, which digitally adjusts your gaze so you appear to be looking directly at the camera even when reading notes off screen. The Tiny 3 is for the content creator or educator who moves around, presents from different positions, or shares the frame with others, and who wants all of that handled automatically without a camera operator. Podcasters with a co-host, teachers who walk the room, streamers who step away from their desk, the physical gimbal tracking keeps you in frame in a way that software zoom simply cannot replicate at the same quality level. It requires more investment than a fixed camera at this use case, and that's the point. Priced at $349, you'll find the link in the description below. If GadTech's content helps you cut through the noise before you spend your money, subscribing and hitting the bell means you won't miss the next one. The Insta360 Link 2 Pro sits at a compelling midpoint between the OBSBOT's tracking intelligence and a pure imaging focus. Like the Tiny 3, It uses a 2-axis motorized gimbal to physically follow you around the frame, but the sensor is notable: a 1/3 of an inch CMOS with an f1.9 aperture and dual native ISO, making it one of the largest sensors in any gimbal-mounted webcam currently available. According to the specs, it outputs at 4K at 30 frames per second with phase detection autofocus and HDR support. The dual built-in microphones use directional beamforming to reject noise from the sides and focus on audio coming from in front of the camera, useful for open-plan offices or rooms with ambient noise. The 83.9-degree field of view and 24mm equivalent focal length make it versatile for both face-forward streaming and pulling back to show a workspace. It has a desk view mode that tilts the camera straight down to show what's on your surface, useful for demos, art, or teaching a hands-on skill, compatible with Zoom, Teams, OBS, Twitch, and most major platforms. And the Insta360 Link software adds additional control over framing presets, zoom behavior, and tracking sensitivity. According to reviews, it also integrates with the Insta360 Wave speakerphone to enable automatic speaker detection that pans between multiple people in the same room, a notable capability for podcast or panel setups. This one is for the professional who wants a gimbal camera that genuinely covers both streaming and serious video conferencing without compromise. The 1/1 3-inch sensor puts it in a different imaging tier from most webcams. The tracking works without any additional hardware, and the single USB-C cable setup means it goes from bag to broadcast in under a minute. Freelancers who move between offices, remote workers who take a lot of client-facing calls, and solo creators who want tracking, plus a high-quality still image, this is a strong fit for all of them. It's priced at $249.99. The link is down in the description. The YoloCam S3 is made by the same company as the S7, but it's a fixed-position webcam, not an interchangeable lens camera, and that changes everything about who it's for. Based on the official specs and verified reviews, it carries a 1/1.28-inch CMOS sensor with an f1.85 aperture and outputs at 4K at 30 frames per second or 1080p at 60 frames per second, with uncompressed video over USB-C 3.0, which means no in-camera encoding is throwing away detail before the signal even reaches your computer. The phase detection autofocus tracks faces rapidly and without the slow hunting behavior common to contrast-based systems. At 82 to 84 degrees field of view and a 24mm equivalent focal length, it's framed for a natural desktop perspective. Like the S7, it's built into an aluminum housing that functions as passive cooling, supporting extended streaming sessions. Manual controls, ISO, shutter speed, white balance, and AI-enhanced low-light processing are available through the YoloLIV Compose software, and the camera supports a 4x digital zoom with hotkey access during a live stream. It also requires a USB 3.0 port to function at full specification, which is worth confirming before purchasing if you're working from an older machine. The S3 is the right call for the stationary creator or professional who wants the best possible fixed camera image quality at this price point without paying for tracking they won't use. Podcasters behind a desk, streamers in a fixed setup, remote workers who sit in the same spot every day, they get a sensor and aperture combination that's competitive with cameras at twice the price, in a form factor that clips to a monitor and connects with one cable. If you know where you're going to sit and you want the image to reflect that, seriously, this is the one. You'll find it at $199. Link is in the description. The last camera on the list approaches the same price point from a different direction. The Elgato Facecam 4K runs a Sony Starvis 2 CMOS sensor, the same sensor family used across a range of higher-end imaging hardware, inside a 1.5 to 1 inch form factor with a fixed f4 aperture. Per the official specs, it outputs at 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, which puts it in a narrow category. According to available reviews, it's one of the only webcams on the market that currently delivers a full 4K 60 FPS output at this price. The trade-off of the f4 aperture is that it gathers less light than the wider aperture cameras on this list, and the fixed focus means there's no background separation through optics. What it delivers instead is maximum frame rate, 60 frames per second at full 4K resolution, with uncompressed output over USB-C and full manual control through Elgato's Camera Hub software. Camera Hub gives you access to exposure, shutter speed, white balance, LUT presets, and cinematic visual effects. It also supports a 49mm filter thread on the lens, which is a functionally unusual feature for a webcam. It means you can attach physical polarizers, ND filters, or diffusion filters, just as you would on a photography lens. The 90-degree field of view is the widest on this list. It connects via an approximately 80-inch USB-C cable and sits natively inside the Elgato ecosystem, meaning it integrates directly with Stream Deck, 4K capture utility, and OBS without any configuration overhead. This is the camera for the streamer who is already deep in the Elgato ecosystem, or whose primary requirement is 4K at 60 frames per second in a plug-and-play package. Reaction streamers, gaming content creators, anyone for whom that frame rate at full resolution is a non-negotiable. Elgato built this for them. The camera hub software is mature, the OBS integration is seamless, and the workflow from unboxing to going live is as short as it gets. At $199.99, it's essentially the same price as the S3. Grab the link below and see which one fits your setup better. That's every camera on this list. Two options in the $200 range that take completely different technical approaches. A gimbal tracked pair between $250 and $350 with meaningful sensor differences, and one professional interchangeable lens option at the top for the creator who's done compromising on optics. All 5 links are in the description. If you haven't subscribed to GadTech yet, now's a good time. See you in the next one.